Folks, do you want to know which country offers 400 days of paid maternity leave, including benefits for fathers and even grandparents? Welcome to the Balancing of Scales, the Economic Justice Report. I'm your host, Vic Bernsdorf. On today's show, we're going to be talking about these three topics: insulin prices in America, worker and family benefits in Belgium, and in our Both and Out segment, we're going to be talking about the voting records of Senator Markey and Senator Rubio. Let's start with our first segment on insulin prices. In the United States, 45% of diabetic patients choose to go without insulin because of the price. Can't afford it. This includes type 1 diabetics, for whom insulin is a life-saving drug. Can't live without it. Between 2003 and 2013, insulin increased in price about 3 times. So caravans of American patients of type 1 diabetes are forced to drive to Canada or Mexico, where the price is about 1/10 the price it is here in America. Personal story note. Marla Greenseed is a caravan passenger. She has a daughter with type 1 diabetes. Even though her daughter, which lives a normal life, still, they're really stuck because they got to pay $700 a month for her insulin, on top of her other costs, like blood sugar test strips, right? But after a caravan trip, Marla says, and I quote, "We're now able to buy insulin at a lower price in Canada and elsewhere because Canada and other countries have put laws into place to make sure their citizens can buy it at an affordable price." End of quote. Let's watch this video clip, come back and talk about it.
I should not have to cross a border to buy my insulin.
I should not have to buy my insulin in the parking lot off a stranger as if it were a drug deal.
None of us should fear death from a perfectly manageable disease, but we do, because American drug makers can arbitrarily raise prices to line their pockets, and Congress hasn't done anything to stop them. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease.
Your pancreas doesn't produce any insulin. You have to rely on injecting insulin every few hours or so.
In 2001, this vial cost $34.81. Today, the list price is about $275.
Insulin's been around for 100 years and hasn't really changed in the last 20.
So you'd expect insulin prices to go down, not up.
Instead, just by slightly tweaking formulas or packaging, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi can extend patents, increase prices, and prevent affordable generics.
The sticker price is made higher by so-called safe harbor regulations. These protect what would otherwise be illegal kickbacks between greedy pharma companies, pharmacy benefits managers, and other middlemen. The price for kickbacks is ultimately passed on to me, the diabetic.
We either buy insulin or we die, and we would like to live.
We would like to live.
We would like to live.
American politicians, of one party in particular, don't care about the health and welfare of American citizens. Period. So American diabetic patients have no choice but to go out of country to Canada and Mexico to be able to afford their medications so they can live. Folks, this is all easily solved. How? By just having the government regulate the prices, right? Having the government regulate healthcare costs with hospitals, with doctors, with big pharmaceutical companies. But any kind of government regulation just won't be tolerated, especially by the Republican Party, who gets paid by Big Pharma to not negotiate prices with the government. Healthcare is really a mess in this country. Cost of medicine and healthcare is basically economic injustice on steroids. And what kills me is that we American citizens just allow ourselves to get ripped off year after year. Let's just stop this racket by voting out the political party members responsible for the shakedown of the public, specifically the shakedown of the sick American people, right? It's really that simple. Okay, on to our next story. Okay, on this segment, I'm going to be comparing the social protection and benefits that other countries provide and comparing them to what we have here in America. In this particular instance, I'm going to be comparing the social protections and benefits in Belgium. So let's look at what the Belgian people have, what the Belgian government provides them. And as I go through these, just think if maybe would you want these for yourself and your family. Let's start with the first one. Every child under 18 years old is entitled to about $190 per month from the government. There's a health insurance fund where it reimburses about 75% of the fees charged. for your health care services. If you need it, there's elder care assisted living allowance. Because every Belgian worker is entitled to a retirement pension at the end of their career. Belgium offers working mothers a total of 15 paid weeks. Maternity leave. There's also paternity leave available for fathers. 10 days paid. The standard work week in Belgium can be no longer than 39 hours, mandated. Okay? Annual salary increases are often controlled by labor unions through collective bargaining agreements and pegged to the cost of living, so you won't lose money long term. Belgians get 20 vacation days per year, plus 10 paid holidays, and a lot of employees enjoy a 13th month bonus that a lot of employers provide their employees, usually during Christmas season. So by contrast, what do the typical Americans get? We get almost no national benefits, and we spend about 60% of the time of our day working, which just leaves 14% left over for personal and family time. Now, before I leave this topic, I also have to include one more country, Bulgaria. Now, Bulgaria is not a country that one thinks of as being the best countries to start a family while working. Check out what Bulgaria provides its citizens. Okay? In this case, maternity leave. Bulgarian mothers receive over 400 days of paid maternity leave with almost 100% of the mother's salary. Bulgaria also provides paternity benefits to fathers, and even grandparents get benefits if they're required to help out. Right? So what's the takeaway from this segment? Well, the United States is one of the only nations that has almost no national, social, and family protection benefits. We don't really care about our quality of life for our citizens. We don't care if they fall through the cracks. Really? It's up to private and public organizations to provide these benefits to their employees. So basically, your happiness in life in America is tied to the generosity of your employer. That's it. It's the luck of the draw. You know, Americans have a very low citizen happiness ranking from the UN World Happiness Report. And I'll include that report link in the description of the show. So, we are number 19 on the UN World Happiness Report. So you're probably thinking, now, who's above us? Well, all those terrible socialist countries that Republicans hate. Sweden, Denmark, Norway, Iceland, Netherlands, and Finland. You know, it must be terrible being so happy all the time. Jealous yet, folks? You know, you should be. That's part of the point of this program. To get you to vote for leaders that will offer you the same benefits other countries have, so Americans can finally enjoy a little bit of happiness in their lives before we're all covered with dirt. But don't believe me alone. If you have any friends or relatives that have moved overseas, ask them what the new government provides. In many cases, you'll be blown away. Okay, on to our last show segment. Okay, in this last show segment, I'm just going to briefly cover the voting records compiled into graphs from the website politics.work.com. You can check it out. I'll have the link in the show description. But real briefly, it takes the votes of all these senators and congressmen, compiles them into a spectrum that favors either the middle class or the wealthy. And that way you can easily determine who's on your side. If you're personally wealthy, well, maybe you want to vote for someone who votes for the wealthy, votes for their self-interest. If you make less than $75,000 a year, gross, well, then you're in the middle class and you want to probably vote for someone that has your back and not the wealthy. So real quick, I'm going to show you the voting record of Senator Markey, then I'll show you the voting record of Senator Rubio. So from this representation of Senator Markey's voting record, it's pretty clear that he favors the middle class over the wealthy, 100% of the time, in fact. And he also favors broad civil rights, 97% of the time. And across the board, from internet freedom to LGBT rights, humane immigration policies, poverty mitigation, racial equality, taxing the wealthy, robust safety net, he's 100% for the middle class. And if that's you, and if you're in his district, you should think about voting for him. So now let's look at the voting record of Senator Marco Rubio. His voting record compilation pretty much shows that, well, he favors the wealthy 90.9% of the time, and he favors narrow civil rights. I'm not going to go over all the specific policy areas, but if you look at the social issues, women's rights, foreign and humanitarian aid, and LGBT rights. It's pretty obvious he doesn't have much of a social record to show to support the social causes of his constituents, right? So just remember, this website is a compilation of the entire voting record of all these senators. And the compilation of their votes represents their values and what they believe in and who they support. And so now I've given you a tool you can use along with other news sources to help you decide who has your back when it comes to your personal economic situation. Well, that's the show for today. Thanks for watching. Next week I'll be talking about these 3 topics: how America has now become a failed state, Europe's employee benefits, and the voting records of Senator Harris and Senator Graham. If you like the topics I present on the show, please consider subscribing. In any event, always remember, you deserve the government you vote for. Have a good day.